Denise Scaloni. Several years ago, I decided to start my own home-based business. I met so many women along the way that were so amazing. I wanted to start this show empowering women to introduce you to some of those women. Today, my guests are Bobby DeClaudio, the High Vibe health coach, and Linda Stewart of Pinpoint, Pennsylvania. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. My guest today is Bobby DeClaudio. She's known as Bobby DeClaudio, High Vibe Health Coach. Hi, Bobby.
Hi, Denise.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely my pleasure.
I'm really excited because we're getting at the end of the year, start of a new year, so it's a great time for you to be on.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about your background? Because I really don't know a lot about your background.
Yeah, sure. So I actually grew up a very overweight child. I was graduated high school, well, even younger, you know, I was always kind of like chubby and stocky.
Mm-hmm.
It was always hard for me to find clothes that fit because I was on the short end,
Right.
so, vertically challenged, you
Yes.
might say. And so, you know, growing up, it was kind of always a struggle for me, my weight, my body image. I always looked at other girls. They never had the, you know, tight pants or to have a hard time buckling their clothes or whatever. And, you know, growing up in my adolescence into my teen years, always a little bit on the heavier side. So it was a struggle most of my life for me to maintain a body weight that I was comfortable with, and probably never, looking back, comfortable in my body at all. As I got older and was on into high school, I started experimenting with diets, and I pretty much did every diet under the sun.
I think we all have.
Yeah, cabbage soup, Atkins.
Oh, okay, I skipped that one.
Yeah, well, I don't think it lasted very long for me looking back, but I did pretty much do everything, and I would lose a few pounds here and there, gain a few pounds back, you know, depending on what else was going on in my
Sure.
life. I was never much into exercise. I was one to forget my gym shoes on gym day. I never had them. I'm like, oh, I just don't have them.
Right.
I mean, I think I was the only class I probably got anything other than a B in, you know, or lower. So I just never was into fitness, never was into, you know, always a little bit on the heavier side. So getting older and, you know, get into my, you know, as I was about to graduate high school, I finally looked and I was up to 178 pounds at 4'11". So it was extremely overweight, extremely uncomfortable again in my body. And I decided at that point, you know, I was moving on with my life. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I didn't want to do it in the body that I was in. So I started to exercise. I joined a local gym, and I learned how to do aerobics and strength training and all these sort of things. And the weight started to come off, and I never realized, you know, oh, this could work. So as I was going along losing weight with weight training and exercise, I really developed a passion and a love for that. So that was all great, but there came a point where I was no longer losing weight. So I had to really look at what I was eating. And that's
a big part
a whole
of it.
other story, right? It's much easier to go to the gym to me and most people than it is to actually, you know, because food is around us all the time, every day, all day.
And I think we justify, well, I'm going to go to the gym so I can eat this cake.
Ah,
or I can eat
absolutely.
this extra piece of pizza because tomorrow I'm going to the gym.
Oh yeah, there were definitely days I would go to the gym and go to Burger King before I went to work for a croissant.
Because you worked out, so you earned
exactly.
it.
So once I realized that wasn't cutting it, I had to kind of dig into the food component of things. So I really decided that I wanted to learn more about that, and I just looked at all the resources that were out there, learned a lot about diet and nutrition and health, how to eat healthy. I grew up kind of underprivileged and not really understanding what nutrition was.
Sure,
kind
most
of just
of us.
ate whatever we had.
Yeah.
So after I started to tweak my diet a little bit, learned a little bit better about all I needed to do, got down to a reasonable weight, probably a similar weight to what I am now in my early 20s. Worked in health clubs, so I worked in health clubs from the time I was like 18 until I was into my 30s. First locally here in the Pittsburgh area, and then I moved to New York City and worked for a large health club conglomerate there.
Wow, this is really your life.
It absolutely is.
When did you become Bobby DeClaudio, High Vibe Health Coach?
Well, I think how that kind of, again, you never know it at the time, right? But as I look back and I start to figure, okay, what happened? How did I shift some of my beliefs and some of the things that I was learning and doing? Really was probably back in '91 when right around the time that I graduated, I really started listening or reading self-help books. I read Stephen Covey by the time I was 19 years old. I was a huge Tony Robbins follower, still am to this day. I've been to several recently workshops with him. But, really learning that there's a lot more to it. So that struggle of keeping the weight off, that struggle of learning to love my body was one thing physically in food, but really that missing piece that I never really got until way later on down the road was, what's going on internally.
What type of services do you offer?
So I offer services like coaching, health coaching one-on-one. I also do a lot of workshops and a 2-day retreat and a half-day retreat. And I really love that. It's awesome to get groups of people together. They're typically women in the retreats. One-on-one, I work with women, men and women. But in the retreats, it's very powerful to have groups of women together, sharing their stories and really creating the energy that allows us to make that type of internal change.
Because we think we're the only ones struggling with things.
Absolutely, and we're really never alone.
So, Bobbi, what would I expect if I called you for help? What would the process be? Can you just walk us through a little bit?
Sure. Typically, I always do an introductory call because a lot of my early coaching days, it was all about prescribing a diet, prescribing exercise, holding people accountable, that sort of thing. The high vibe piece comes in where it's a lot more about what's going on under the hood. What are your beliefs? Where are you coming from with your desire to live in a healthier body? So we kind of have to get on a phone call to talk about, really where you're at. And most of the women that come to me, women and men that come to me, are very distraught about. They're frustrated. They've been through the diet, cycle, yo-yoing all over the place. So we get on the phone first. We discuss my approach a little bit because it's a little bit different. It's not just going to be diet and exercise. There's going to be a lot of, looking at the beliefs. Where are you at your life holistically, a whole lifestyle approach.
Do you find some common themes?
I do. I find many common themes. A lot of it is self-worth. Myself included, struggle with, am I good enough? Where if we start on a quest to make a huge change in our life and especially in our body, and we come from a place of fear and hate, it makes it really hard. So if you're in your body, you're feeling like, I hate this body, I hate this, and you're using that to motivate yourself to get, to improve or to have results, unlikely that's gonna happen short term, but not sustainable.
Right.
So that's why the yo-yo.
Yo-yo. It's really interesting. I never thought about it like that, but that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, well, if you work at the level of behavior versus the level of belief, you will, you will get results, but it's rare that those can be sustained.
Right. So we're in November here.
Yes,
we're getting
we
close
are.
to a lot of people's favorite holiday, Thanksgiving.
Wild, yeah.
And the holidays are right around the corner. How do we survive the holidays? Still enjoy them, but still, I guess, try to stay away from some things, try moderation. Like, how do we do that? Give us some tips, Bobbi.
I will give you some tips. So and some of them will be very practical things you can do this, do this, do this. And others, I'm gonna, you might look at me like, oh, what is that? But honestly,
and some we probably heard, but we just need a refresher.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So
a few of them are reminders. So obviously, hydration. Everyone knows that you have to be hydrated. A lot of times hunger can present as from dehydration. So you want to stay hydrated for sure. And it's not as warm, so we don't realize that we're thirsty. So just make sure you're hydrated, even though it's it's cool outside. Especially we got a cold spell early this year, so hydration is number one. Number two, you want to arrive at any holiday party, gathering, or even if you're hosting a holiday party or gathering, without being starving. Do not show up to a party on an empty stomach. Have a little bit of something. Keep some nuts. Keep some, an apple or your favorite fruit, even if it's a banana, handy and within reach, so that you're not showing up at a party starving. Along that same line, get a plate. I've been to a million parties. I host a million parties. Don't stand at the food. leave that.
It's easy to pick.
Yes,
You don't
take
realize.
your plate, choose first, take a look at the, array of beautiful, delicious things. Pick what you want, take those things on a plate, go sit somewhere, find a space, and be present with your food and eat your food. So that it's not this whole standing there, because you just don't realize how much you eat and how quickly you're eating whenever you're distracted. The third thing is to be present. So, talking about distraction, you really want to be present. You want to breathe into your environment. Make sure that you are, looking around, making eye contact, enjoying what you're there for. If you are so consumed or, sidetracked by the food and the rest of it's not the reason why you're there. Let's remember the reason for the season, the connection, the fact that we want to be in communication with individuals. We can't do that if we're numbing out with food.
That's a good points.
Yeah.
Again, things that we know.
Yes.
But it's good to hear it.
Absolutely.
And two, we're rushing around. Sometimes we don't get a lot of sleep. We're hitting all these cells, rushing around.
Yes.
How important is sleep to all this?
Well, sleep is enormous because all of the bodily functions or the recharging for our body happens during sleep. So if we are sleep deprived, we definitely tend to make not as ideal of a decision as we would if we had enough sleep, if we were firing high vibe, right?
Right.
So when we are in flow with our, who we are and what we're doing in this world, it's much easier to make decisions, and sleep factors into that tremendously if we're well rested.
And you mentioned water to stay hydrated.
Absolutely.
There's so much controversy about water. How much should you drink? How much shouldn't you drink? Should you drink half your body weight? If you don't drink water, do you start slow? Can you just talk about water for a second?
I mean, it is the typical rule of thumb is half of your body weight in ounces. If you're a person that exercises and sweats a lot, you may want to do more than half of your body weight in ounces. And if you're not, then you could do slightly less than that. But just to make it easy, if you use half your body weight in ounces, in a way that you can do that, I have a lot of clients just fill up containers and have that with them all day. I use my 24-ounce Yeti. Before most people wake up in the morning, I probably had 2 of those.
Wow. Okay. So that's very important also.
Absolutely, yeah. Stay hydrated. And coffee is okay. Just, it can dehydrate. So if you are someone that drinks coffee, just be considerate of the fact that you might need a little extra.
Because I think people think, well, coffee or tea, well, that's still hydrating me.
On a level, yes, but there's a proponent there.
It's not water.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what about alcohol?
Alcohol, one of my favorite things.
Because again, we're the holiday season here.
It's so.
Do you need to drink more water if you're consuming alcohol? Or?
It's a good idea to do a 1-to-1 ratio with just for hydration purposes, because alcohol tends to dehydrate. The other probably the biggest issue with alcohol is the sugar content. It's just very high in sugar. So right now there are some really fascinating things happening in the world of alcohol where they are really, they're looking at that. There's a few companies out there, especially in wine. So a lot of us now are big into wine. So you can definitely find some lower sugar alcohol wines. Commercially produced, mass-produced wines, a lot of them have up to 16 tablespoons of sugar.
Oh my gosh.
If you look at a natural wine, organic doesn't always mean that it won't have a lot of sugar added, but it will be healthier for you than something that is not.
So what's next for Bobbi DeClaudio?
Oh, I'm so jazzed up about all of the high vibe things that I have coming up. I am doing retreats. I just finished one in the beginning of October. I will repeat that retreat in the beginning of the year, probably more towards like April, so you'd have to stay tuned and follow my website to look at that. It's called Emerge. It's a 2-day intensive retreat where we do go back into all of these points that we're talking about, things we're talking about here today, and how to get you into a flow state so that you can live your life in a high vibe way where, exercise and diet become secondary because you're so focused and in a place that you can very easily adapt those things.
Bobbi, any final thoughts?
Final thoughts are, for sure, just ask better questions when it comes to your health and your weight and your body. Ask yourself questions like, instead of, why does this keep happening to me, or why can't I lose weight? Say, who do I need to be in order for this to not be so difficult for me? So just ask better questions. Don't come from, be careful not to come from a place of hate and fear when it comes to your body and your health. Come from a place of love and compassion. We need that. We all crave love and compassion.
The world does need that.
Yes,
Thank you so much for being here, Bobby.
absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
My guest is Linda Stewart, the co-owner and creative director of Pinpoint, Pennsylvania. Hi, Linda.
Hi, Denise.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here with you today.
I'm excited to have you here too. We've been friends for quite a while.
We have.
Yeah, we've had quite the journey so far, haven't we?
Yes, we certainly have.
Before we talk about Pinpoint, Pennsylvania, what it is,
Yeah.
let's back up a little bit.
Okay,
Because you're a graphic designer.
that's correct.
And when did you start your graphic design business?
I actually started my graphic design business about 16 years ago. I was currently at that time working for a marketing and advertising agency located in downtown Pittsburgh. And it really kind of happened by accident. You know, I just became a graphic designer, and friends and family start asking you, can you do a business card? Can you do a small website? So while I was working full time, I was doing those little projects on the side, and that was fine for a little bit of extra income for a while. And then a couple years later, I decided to go ahead and make it full time.
And you did that for quite a while.
I did actually. It's been 13 years since I went full time doing that. It was a result of just starting a family and not wanting to commute and be out of the house all the time. I wanted to be home with my son, and eventually my daughter came along. So graphic design has always been the type of career that really lent itself to someone that could work from home, do it on flexible time.
Right.
So that would work well with the needs of small children.
That's one of the
definitely.
advantages of being an entrepreneur.
Absolutely, and that's probably my favorite thing about it is the flexible schedule.
Yes, it's definitely a big advantage. There's disadvantages too sometimes.
Absolutely,
But
but,
definitely a
not
big
enough to
advantage.
make me want to jump ship.
So you had this graphic design business. And then all of a sudden you decide you want to do something different. How did this come about?
I did. About 5 or so years ago, once my kids were in school full time, I had the opportunity to really start shaping my career as an entrepreneur into what I wanted it to be. I had been spending a lot of time doing websites and printed work because that's what I did when I
Sure.
worked downtown and was kind of known for.
Yeah.
But because I went to school in the mid-90s, there was no web design back then. I studied print design. And I wanted to get back to my roots and get away from all of the digital marketing. Everybody, it seemed like, in my industry was headed in that direction, ditching print work, building websites, things like that. I had been doing that for a number of years and was actually kind of tired of it. So I went against the current and said, you know what, I'm not going to do any more digital marketing work. I'm just going to do printed work because that's where my passion lay anyway.
And people still use it. People think that it's still around.
Absolutely. Print is not dead.
Right. Right.
It is not dead. In fact, it plays a pretty significant role in today's marketing because so many people think that print is dead and that they can just get away with everything digitally. A lot of people are not even paying attention to email newsletters and things like that
We're
anymore.
flooded with them.
Right, yes. You're overloaded with it. So I don't know about you, but unless it's something that I've specifically signed up for, I delete them as they come in.
Right.
So I wanted to get back to my print roots. So with all that, I started going around to networking events and seminars, things like that, that were all geared towards the print industry. And about 2 years ago, I went to one at Point Park College, Point Park University, I think they are.
Yes.
And they had a little breakfast seminar that was talking about the importance of print marketing in today's world. So I figured, why not go to that?
Right. That's your
So-
wheelhouse.
Exactly. That was right up my alley. And I like that area because that's the area that I used to work in.
Right.
And it just was kind of like almost like a little bit of a homecoming because I hadn't been down there in a while. So I went down that morning, and it turned out that the presentation was all about not just the importance of print marketing, but the importance of magazines. And that kind of blew me away because way back in the day, I had actually considered becoming a magazine designer.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
I did, yeah. And that stems just from a love of magazines that I've always had, all the way back to being a little kid with
Tiger Beat.
Tiger Beat, probably Barbie, and then, 17 and all that kind of fun stuff. And then you move on to Better Homes and Gardens and Real
People,
Simple and all those kind of fun things. But I've always had magazine subscriptions. I've always loved them. And this woman that was giving the presentation obviously loved magazines too. I mean, loved magazines. And just stood there and gushed about them and talked about what a great marketing tool they are these days. And she was giving examples of different places that were actually starting their own magazines as marketing tools, such as Airbnb. They have their own magazine. Even though they're an online service, they use a printed magazine to do promotions. So this whole seminar was all about how awesome magazines are. So gets me all excited because, yay, I love magazines too. So I leave the seminar and I'm feeling all excited about magazines and just thinking about how great they are. And I stopped in the newsstand that was across the street and bought a couple magazines because I had taken the T in rather than fighting the traffic. And I figured, I'll grab a couple magazines and I'll look on the way home. So I'm walking up to the T platform and I'm thinking, boy, wouldn't it be great to just start my own magazine?
Is that when you did the Facebook post?
That's what happened. I sat down on the T platform and I was thinking about this. Boy, I should start my own magazine. And I typed it into Facebook and I said, I'm feeling really inspired. Who wants to start a magazine with me? And I actually, I almost knew in that moment that I was about to change my life because I thought for a moment before I posted it, do I really want to post this? Even though...
Because you're putting it out there.
I am putting it out there. That's huge.
Yeah.
Once, it can be a thought in your head.
It's out of your comfort zone.
Because once it gets out of your head, then it's out there and the
It's
universe
real.
is doing things with it. So that's how that happened. I sat there and I said, all right, there's no commitment. Click, and I pushed the button. And by the time I rode back to the Library T station from downtown, I had a whole mess of people excited about the idea, not even knowing what kind of magazine it was going to be yet, offering ideas for articles and, hey, if you want somebody to write something or take photos. So suddenly I had all these people that were interested in it. And by the end of the day, I was talking to my cousin, Jason Krasinski, who became my business partner, and we had mapped out the basic idea for what was going to become Pinpoint Pennsylvania.
How long ago was that, Linda?
Just over 2 years ago.
So 2 years ago, you go to this seminar, you get this idea, you're inspired, you do the Facebook post.
Yes.
And now, how many magazines have you published since then?
Well, we have 6 that are complete.
Because they're quarterly.
Correct. It is a quarterly magazine. So we have 6 that are complete, and we are actually in the production process for the 7th winter issue right now.
That is amazing.
Well, thank you.
Now, what is Pinpoint Pennsylvania? What type of magazine is it?
Pinpoint Pennsylvania is a travel and lifestyle magazine. What we do is we cover unique and off the beaten path kind of things to do throughout the state of Pennsylvania. It's our mission to uncover all of the really cool things that are here in the state and educate people about them, encourage them to travel.
We don't even know these things.
Right. Everybody thinks that to go on vacation or even take a long weekend, they've got to go away. You've got to go to the beach or you've got to fly somewhere, and you don't. This state is full of really awesome things to do, and you can drive maybe even just a half an hour and find something that you've never seen before. And that's our goal, is to educate the people of Pennsylvania and help boost the economy through stimulating tourism and travel and helping out some of these smaller businesses that might not necessarily be seen or covered by some of the larger magazines.
Right. The thing that I think is so cool is who writes the articles?
Our readers actually write the articles. So we have readers. We also have freelancers that we work with too. And the whole goal is to just get a mix of people throughout the state telling us what is cool in their area to do. Because we don't have time as 2 people to be traveling around all over the place, although that would be really cool.
That would be really cool.
And that is part of the plan, is to get out there a little bit more and do some more
Yeah.
travel ourselves and practice what we preach. But so many people have good stories to tell. And we want to encourage everybody to send in your ideas. Even if you think you can't write, you might just have a great idea, and we might have a freelancer nearby that could go out and cover it for you. Or if you want to try and write, we'll help you polish it up and put it together.
And that's really huge, because people don't realize to write for a magazine, sometimes you have to pay to be in that magazine.
Right, right.
And people don't realize that. They think, I'll just write it and it'll be, you have to pay for that.
Sure.
And your magazine, you do not have to do that.
No, you don't. You can contribute for free. We do offer editorial space
Sure.
for sale as
Sure,
well.
right.
That way, if
Marketing.
someone is doing a marketing campaign and they want to put out an article,
Right.
we will certainly work with them to develop something that they can use in order to do marketing on their own behalf.
Yeah.
It's really awesome. And you've actually written for us. So
I
you've
have.
actually been a part of this process.
I'm waiting to be asked to write again.
You might be.
When you first did that Facebook post, did you ever think you'd be here at this point? With
No.
the seventh magazine in process?
No, I really did not. The whole idea at that point, that would have been October 2 years ago. It took us a little while to kind of get the idea in focus, set up the business and all that. So in 2018, we did 3 issues. We did summer, fall, and winter. And when we first started, it was like, all right, let's do the first few issues and see how that goes. Well, people have really responded very well to it. They really like reading the magazine. I have actually had people call me and say, I picked up an issue here or there. I would like to have all the other issues. Can I get copies of the ones that I missed? They're trying to collect them.
Well, it's something to keep. So when you're
It
looking for an
is.
idea, you can go back through it.
It is, and we do cover events to a certain extent. They usually have to be something that repeats every year, because we want these to have a shelf life.
Sure.
We don't want people to read them and toss them. We want them to treat them like a coffee table book, basically. Hold on to them, share them, let people look at them. You know, have other people just check them out and see what they think about them.
Linda, where can people get Pinpoint Pennsylvania?
We actually have about 150, 160 distribution points located throughout the state. You can go onto our website. There is an interactive map that shows you where they're all located. You can click on the point and it'll tell you an address. One nice thing is that we are in all of the welcome centers throughout the state of Pennsylvania. So as you drive in, you can stop and pick one there
That's
up
nice.
as well. The welcome centers especially like them. They're saying that they're having people come in looking for them now, just because they expect it to be there and they really do
right.
like the magazine.
And you can also subscribe.
You can subscribe if you'd like to have it sent directly to your door rather than having to go out and pick one up. You can subscribe right on our website.
So what's next for Linda Stewart?
What's next for Linda Stewart?
I mean, you've
is-
already stepped out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, I'm way out of my comfort zone.
Today's out of your comfort zone also.
Yes,
I know.
this is actually out of my comfort zone too. And that's actually what is next for me, is just getting out from, freelance graphic designer mode, sitting behind my desk all the time, making other people's things look nice, which I still love to do. It will always be my passion. I love to do design work. But it's time for me to get out there and, like I said earlier, start practicing what I preach. We're learning about all these really cool things to do across the state. Want to go out and check them out. I want to discover some of my own, and I do photography work, so I'd like
Yeah.
to contribute some of my own photos to the magazine. And basically just head around the state, carrying copies around and saying, hey, check out what an awesome magazine we have here.
It is a great magazine.
Thank you.
It's a great magazine. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Continued success on Pinpoint Pennsylvania
Thank
and everything
so
you
much.
do.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Thank you for watching today's episode of Empowering Women. I'd like to thank my guests, Bobby DeClaudio, the High Vibe Health Coach. Bobby gave some great ideas on how to survive the holidays. You can get more information about Bobby and receive a free consultation by going to her website. And also my guest, Linda Stewart. Linda told a story about how she stepped out of her comfort zone to create a brand new magazine called Pinpoint Pennsylvania. I hope these women inspired and empowered you to live your dreams. Thank you for watching and see you next time.